Good afternoon. It's Katie from the Safeguarding Association, back with you for another probably 15-ish minutes with our Tuesday conversation, our safeguarding spotlight. And today I want to talk to you about those little things that we do on a daily basis that are either helping us or are massively hindering us from a safeguarding leadership perspective. And it's really important that we understand what it is we're doing and what those little behaviours are, because they can massively impact how those we work with, those we want to bring through with us on any transformation program or development or change process, um, whether they come with us or not in that particular sphere. And so in this week's blog, I've been talking about um, micro behaviours from leaders and how they can be a massive force for good. And equally, the converse is true. So I think the first thing is you need to understand as a leader, what is your behaviour saying to the rest of the organisation? If you don't know this, ask somebody, because they will. And be prepared to have a very honest conversation about this, because it can get quite challenging. And the reason for that is, if you have, as an organisation, a set of principles, a set of values, a set of ideas that you want staff to follow and model and work with in order to create that culture of vigilance, to create that safe place for learners, for students, for staff, and to create that culture of inclusivity, that culture of awareness, that culture of sharing concerns before they get too big and need big intervention rather than smaller interventions, then we as leaders need to be aware of what it is we are doing that either promotes those values or doesn't. So things like, and in this week's blog, I talk about things like, if you want transparency, are you being transparent? Now, I appreciate you can't lay all of your cards on the table. I totally get that. But are you being open about decisions where you can be open about decisions? Are you open about your rationale? Do you own up if you've made a mistake, or do you blame it on anybody and everybody else? Um, do you expect resilience from your staff? Um, but you don't demonstrate self care, you don't demonstrate professional boundaries, you are asking them to do all sorts at any hour of the day. I had a manager when I was fairly newly qualified, um, who would think absolutely nothing of contacting me at 10, 11 o'clock at night, asking me to drop everything the following day and go and cover a hearing. But then the following day would ask how I was doing and whether or not I was okay. The two just didn't gel together at all. Um, so what are you doing? What are you expecting and what are you doing? How is that playing out? If you want staff to learn, if you want students to learn, we all want students to learn. If you want them to, if you want to have a culture of learning, a culture of um, development, and a culture of um, working kind of either on ourselves or improving our knowledge sphere, then are you doing the same? Are you open when they come to you and say, we've just done this course, we've just done this program, or I've just seen this. I think this would work really, really well here. Are you open to having that conversation and seeing how it might work? Or are you very much, no, this isn't happening? Or are you somewhere in between? Do you question? Do you um, ask for supervision? If you're struggling yourself, are you modeling asking for support, asking for supervision? Do you say when you don't know the answer, or do you fudge it? And If you want people to be calm under pressure, is your personality and your communication style reflecting that steadiness? Are you reflecting that calm? Are you reflecting that space for people to kind of have that moment and hold them and just get ready to move forward? Because if you're not, as the leader, whether you're the DSL, whether you're strategic DSL, whether you're the principal, whether you're the CEO, it doesn't matter who you are. If you aren't behaving like that, then your staff won't either. So they will easily pick up. I remember my mum years ago coming home and saying she used to be a Y6 teacher. And she came home and said, I walked in the classroom this morning and I could hear this murmur going round the room. So it took a moment and I had to figure out what they were saying. But whispered around the room was Mrs. in a mood, Mrs. in a mood, Mrs. in a mood. And I had to stop myself and stand at the back of the classroom for a moment and just work out whether or not I was in a mood. Um, and it turns out I just was not aware of it consciously at all. And I think about that a lot when I think about um, how we enter a space, how we enter a meeting, how we enter any given scenario. When I talk to social workers or I talk to safeguarding leads, if they're going into meetings, have they taken a moment to settle themselves? We sometimes call it grounding, which might be a bit woo woo for some people, but it's about just stopping, taking that pause from where we were. We've left one space, which might have been a really difficult conversation. You might be moving into another difficult conversation. Have you given yourself that space? Have you given yourself that moment to kind of recalibrate, check in, get your brain out of one meeting and ready for the next so that you walk into that space in a much more calm, measured, possibly confident position so that you can have those open conversations? Or are you someone who dashes from meeting to meeting to meeting? And by the time you get to the fourth or fifth meeting, you're still digesting what happened in the first or second. So you've never quite caught up. And at the end of the day, it's all a bit fudgy upstairs and you're constantly playing catch up. It's if you want your staff, if you want your mentors, your tutors, whomever, to be going in and having calm and difficult conversations where necessary or modeling certain behavior, we as leaders need to model that too. We need to be the people that they look to and say, oh, that's how Kate's doing it, or that's what Kate does. Um, that's what I want to do. And then you give them something to emulate, you give them something to model against, if that's what you want. If you are constantly shuttered up, if you are constantly dismissing any other ideas, people just won't come to you with them. They just won't have that conversation with you because you're not a safe place to have that conversation. And there's only you can make that difference. But I promise you, everybody will tell you whether or not you are, well, everybody will know whether or not you're a safe pair of hands. Everybody will know whether or not you are somebody they can go to when they're worried, when they are concerned. They will know whether or not they're going to get a reasonable response from you first or how you're going to react. The person who possibly doesn't know might be you. And I say this from a place of respect and kindness, but there are too many leaders I find who have absolutely no idea who they actually are in any given circumstance and don't make enough effort to find that out. Because if you don't know, you are never going to change. And if you don't know, then you can throw out the best policies in the world. You can throw out the best behavior management processes. You can throw out the best procedures and the best set of expectations and values and mission and all of that. But if you aren't modeling it, it's never, ever going to be picked up. It's never going to be the way you want it to be. And that's because either you're not modeling it or somebody in your team of influence is not modeling it either. And these things ripple. They absolutely ripple through. And sometimes that ripple is very, very visible. But sometimes that ripple is much more subtle. And the there's a level of trust that comes with how somebody behaves. So, by way of example, I was at the gym yesterday and I'm looking at some PT sessions. Um, and it's a new gym. I didn't know how it worked. So I was talking to one girl who was really open, really lovely, really kind of, oh, I think this is how it works. So chatting away to me about how it might work. But she wasn't sure. So she wanted to go and get one of the other PTs just to double check because she hadn't done one for a while and it hadn't been her. And so he trots over or stalks over, not entirely sure which way, um, and was, I think in another context, it might have been a bit creepy, to be brutally honest. Um, what I want to know, I've done PT before, I know how it works. I appreciate he doesn't know how it works, that I know how it works. So I asked him, what's the process? He says, well, we go into that little room over there and we talk about it. I says, okay. So I'm here now. What what would be the cost per session? When he says, well, that's what we'll talk about in that little room over there. And would not be budged on the subject at all. Now, I don't know whether it was because there was another PT sat next to him or whether he was being incredibly protective or whether he thought that I was there and I would automatically be his client. I'm not sure. He's expecting me to make the phone call to set the PT sessions up. He's doing none of that at all. And when I walked away, he didn't give me any sense of that I was potentially important, that I was a potential new client, that there was a particular plan in place. It was, we're going to go in that little room, we're going to have that conversation. If you want to go ahead, go ahead. But if you don't, you don't. So what? Um, but gave me nothing to go away and figure out what was happening. Now, this is in direct conflict to the gym, whose entire joining process is set out really easily online. Um, the you everything happens online. Frustrates me like mad, but everything happens online. You go through their website. It's really straightforward. You can work out how to do it. It's really clear in terms of pricing, um, and it's really clear in terms of what you are getting and what that looks like. It's all set out there. And I just thought, this doesn't fit. You have this view of how lovely this gym, and actually it was a really quite nice gym. Um, Lovely and clean, fairly spacious, but fairly small, which was quite nice. Um, but you, Mr. PT, you are giving me a very different vibe here, and it doesn't sit very well with me. Now, had he said, if you've got a minute, let's just go and have a, can we just have, can I have a minute then? Can we just go and have a quick conversation? I'd have had a quick conversation. Um, but that's what I mean. That whole, what they want you to see and then what you do see are two different things. So that what could have made that really different would have been a smile, would have been a better body position from him rather than a kind of stalking over, a more upright, open position. Certainly that the woman had taken to have a more open or willingness to have that conversation with me while I was there, just even in brief to go, what are you looking for? This is what I'm looking at. This is kind of where my availability is. How does that sit with you? This is what it's going to cost. Because that's the important question. Let's be frank. That's the important question. Um, and then to say, well, how do we make this happen? What do I need to do to help you? Where are you at? Da, 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 da. That didn't happen. And so I'm left feeling like I like the gym. I like that particular area. It's really handy for me. Um, but I don't want PT with him. And I don't know whether I want to be in a gym where he is. It was just a bit weird and a bit uncomfortable. Um, so that's what I mean. I don't think he's got any clue at all about how he comes across. I genuinely don't think he's got any clue at all about how he comes across. And this is what I find with a lot of leaders. Lots of them are accidental leaders. Lots of them, there's a lot of secrecy around this is what I do, and I've got to keep it all here, and I've got to keep all this information here, and nobody's going to see it. And I can't tell you how I made that decision, possibly because they don't know how they made the decision. I can't tell you what the rationale was for that decision. I can't tell you how I reached that outcome or what the methodology was for this, that, and the other. Or I'm not going to tell you, possibly because they can't. Um, or they won't, they simply won't tell you what that was. And that then makes people feel really unnerved and can make people feel really uncomfortable. So, if you are a leader, I talk to leaders all of the time. I do think it's one of those things that we absolutely have to be very aware of how we come across. Because if you are just expecting people to live and breathe your safeguarding principles, but you don't think they apply to you, or you are reacting before you've taken a breath to reflect on what might have happened and what might be going on, or you don't want to hear what people are wanting to talk about. Maybe you don't want to do a debrief after a particularly difficult safeguarding issue. Maybe you don't want to do a debrief after there's maybe been an Ofsted session, or there's been an Office for Students um, view, or there's maybe been a complaint, and you don't want to talk it through. That's okay, but I would urge you to reflect on whether or not your chosen position is the right one for you, or maybe the organisation is right for you. Um, and I don't mean this as the get at, because you do such incredibly difficult work, but it's really, there are so many things going on within the sector. There are so many things happening that if, as a leader, and remember, DSL sit on the leadership team, so it's absolutely all of you. Um, where you've got competing metrics, so Ofsted, targets, we're coming up to mock season within HE. You'll have a number of students who are contemplating whether or not now or the university that they've chosen was the right university for them. You'll already be worrying about what might be going on next year and what intake is, and admissions. The UCAS forms are all about to start come through, if they haven't already started coming through to you. So there's lots of decision making that's happening. Um, Good leaders can cut through all of it. Good leaders will take people in a difficult time of change or imbalance. And let's be honest, the world of higher ed and FE and apprenticeships right now is feeling a little bit wobbly. Good leaders won't sugarcoat it, but they'll be able to support the team through it. And that's through those really simple things of making your values visible, behaving how you want people to behave, reflecting before you react. So you're taking that breath before you make the next comment, before you choose the next decision, before you send that difficult email. And you've got that feedback loop happening. So whether it's about you and your style, or about what's going on in terms of the policies you've developed, is it working? Is it not? Where are the gaps? And then importantly, when you've got that feedback, you act on it. And by acting, I don't mean you shove it in a drawer and you forget about it, but you actually do things to make the appropriate change. So the policy might need some tweaks, the procedure might need some tweaks. You might need to think about how your behavior is impacting, or how your actions and reactions are impacting your staff. And that's not to say that you need to do mega change, but being aware is a massive part of how you can best support your staff, and those little behaviours that you probably think nothing of will have the biggest impact on your staff. So get those right, and I promise you, you will start to see a change in the way your staff are responding. If you can get those micro behaviors to work for you rather than against you, then you will absolutely start to see a much more open line of communication. If this is something you're struggling with, or if you are going through a really difficult period of change and safeguarding practices feeling really stretched, feeling really out of kilter, or maybe you're just dealing with an awful lot of really difficult cases in one go, and you want a critical friend, you want someone to have those difficult conversations with before you have those difficult conversations with the actual people within your office, then don't struggle on your own. Do get in touch. The Safeguarding Leaders Hub is here for people just like you in your position. Absolutely there as a critical friend, absolutely there to support you, um, absolutely there to be that support, be um, that place of safety for you as a leader so you can be the best version of you. It's not therapy. It's not um it's about giving you space. It's about giving you space to consider those difficult decisions or those tricky issues that you are dealing with. So if you'd like to know more, then please send me a message. Please get in touch. There's a contact form on the website. Please do get in touch and let's have a conversation so that you can start the next term feeling as fully supported as we can get you. Until next time, have a lovely Tuesday. I'm Kate. I'll see you again.